Hello, third graders. Welcome back to art. Today is day 2 of our Cezanne landscape paintings, or paint like Cezanne, landscape like Cezanne. The picture that one of the slides that you just saw is a self-portrait that he made in the late 1800s. So he painted a picture of himself. Today we're going to add some color to our pictures. You should have painted the sky last time. If you didn't get that done, you'll do that this class. And today I'm going to show you how to color your tree and your mountains so that it looks like there's sun shining down from the east. Yeah, from one side. So get your work out and let's get started. Today you're going to need crayons or oil pastels, whatever you have handy. And you're going to need... you might need a scrap piece of paper to put under your hand so that your colors don't like smear or bleed where you don't want them to. But that's it. If you want to color your tree so that it looks like it has form, or so that it actually looks more round, you're going to pick 3 different shades of brown. So I didn't have 3 different shades of brown that I liked. So I picked a gold and a medium brown and a dark brown. You're going to put your lightest shade of brown down first, and that's going to be on the side of the tree where you want your light source to be coming from. So I'm going to pretend like the sun is in the right-hand corner of my picture. So I want this right side of my tree to be the lightest side of my tree. So likewise, and also really depending on the time of the day, but your branches are going to be lightest on the top of the branch if the sun is up in the sky, like middle of the day, and it's over on the right side. So that's where you're going to put, this is going to be your highlight. And now I'm going to come in right next to that and slightly over that a little bit. And this is true for crayons or oil pastels. You want to use the crayon or the oil pastel itself to blend your colors. You don't want to use your fingers. So you can actually lay that medium brown color that you have right over top of the first edge that it touches of the gold. So I'm going to leave some of the gold pure gold, and like half of the gold is going to have this light brown over it. And then I'm going to carry enough of this light brown over into the middle of my tree that I can do the same thing with the darker brown color. So I'm going to put darker brown all on this white part of my tree, and then it's going to overlap a little bit with that medium brown. Now remember, because you're in 3rd grade, you want to color... You don't want to leave a lot of the white of the paper showing. So you want juicy color. You want to really get that oil pastel or that crayon down nice and thick on your paper. I'm trying to give my tree a little bit more interest, so I'm putting a little bit of this darker brown over into the right side, kind of to make my tree look like it's lumpy, or like it, the correct word is undulation, but we're going to go with lumpy because that's easier to understand. So the darkest part of your branches will be the bottom of the branches. Totally fine for you if you are at school or at home to peel the paper off of your oil pastels or your crayons. You're going to have to do that. It does make them break a little bit easier, but that's okay. Because we've already decided that the sunlight is shining down on the right side of the tree and the right side of these mountains, I'm going to do the same thing with the mountains that I did with the tree. I'm going to do my limey light green on that right side, and then I'm going to come over top of that with a nice medium like grass green or Kelly green it's called, and then I'm going to just color the whole rest of my mountain with this green. Now I did overlap a little bit with the light green. If you have peeled the paper, it's easy to use the edge of the crayon or the oil pastel to color this the mountains in. It'll just go a little bit faster. And again, you're applying really consistent pressure and thick, juicy color. It also helps if your strokes are the same. So your stroke is the way that you put the color onto the paper. So it could be in a line, or it could be little tiny circles. Whatever it is, you want to keep it consistent throughout your whole picture. So one of the ways that artists create depth in a landscape painting or a cityscape or anything where they want something to look like it's in the distance, they make things back in the distance fuzzier or blurrier, and they make them lighter, and they make them harder to see details. So I used my lighter green in the background and my darker greens up in the foreground. And so what I'm doing now is going over this third green that I colored in my land with, just in the front, and making it a little bit darker. I'm gonna put these kind of wavy lines for a current in my pond. And that I'm doing in black, and I'm gonna put a little canoe out there, and then I'm gonna color all of the pond blue. You may need to put a piece of paper down under your hand like I have here so that you don't smear the bottom part of your picture. Or you can color from top to bottom and just don't color that bottom part until the end. Third graders, remember in past classes we've talked about the elements of art, and these are kind of like the ingredients that go in. If art was like a cake or cookies, the elements of art are like the ingredients that make up art. So in this project, let's look at the elements of art that we may have used. We definitely used line because you drew your pictures. We used space because you designed your composition. A lot of this project was about the space and how you designed your composition. We used color to enhance our paintings and drawings and make them more beautiful. We used shapes because your tree was a shape, your pond was a shape, anything else you put in your picture had shape. We didn't really use value, although you could argue a little bit that we used the lightness and darkness of like our browns to make our tree look like it had form or make it look round. So you could say we used value, but oftentimes value is like when you add white or black to a color to get it to have highlights or shadows. And we did use a little bit of texture. Well, especially if you have, if you added any texture to the bark of your tree or to your buildings or any kind of texture you may have added. And if you used oil pastels, you probably used texture because they kind of have an inherent texture, but we didn't add additional texture like polka dots anywhere or anything like that. So I would say the two that we probably didn't use very much were value and texture, although we could have even used those a little bit. That's all for today, boys and girls. I will see you next class. We're going to be weaving.